Jamaica. Make we do the right thing. Make we live good today for a better tomorrow. Talk it out. Don't fight it out. The time by the Ministry of National Security is
6:30.
The Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport has told Parliament that several $100 million have been spent on programs across the portfolios under her command over the past few years. She says several $100 million more is earmarked to be spent in this fiscal year and beyond to correct the problems that have affected culture, gender, entertainment and sport. But the opposition say, well, Minister, these are regurgitated programs we are hearing about, and there is a distinct lack of details about the policy prescriptions that are needed, especially in the area of culture and the creative industries. So we're having that discussion this evening on Lead Story. What is needed to boost culture and the creative industries, and what's the best way forward to get the funding that's needed to make promises a reality in Jamaica? Lead Story starts now. Let's go with the show. Welcome to Lead Story here on CVM TV. So the Minister of Gender, Culture, Entertainment and Sport, Olivia Babsy-Grange, spoke in the sectoral debate in the House of Representatives earlier this week, presenting her program of accomplishments to this date, especially focusing on the last fiscal year and those programs which she believes deserve priority treatment in this fiscal year and beyond. She spoke about several efforts that have been funded to great effect and spoke about the funding that is earmarked for the development of facilities such as the National Stadium Complex, Independence Park, and monies that are to be spent on transforming certain landmarks and certain facilities to facilitate 24-hour entertainment zones and, of course, to protect the cultural landmarks that make Jamaica a special place. The opposition, though, say, look, yes, Minister, we hear what you're saying about things that have been done, and they say, look, she padded the presentation with programs that should have been completed a long time ago, and they say the presentation was light on specific policy prescriptions, especially in the area of culture and the creative industries. This evening, I'm inviting Dr. Deborah Hickling-Gordon, the opposition spokesperson on culture, to speak about where the gaps were in the minister's presentation, and Attorney at Law Ewan Simpson to also speak about what he would like to see over the next fiscal year done in the referenced area. As usual, we'll start the discussion with a package which sets the tone for the discussion, putting into context where we are, where culture, gender, entertainment and sport are concerned, especially looking at the culture and creative industries.
Jamaicans may not always be proud of the economy or the state of government, but our cultural impact is undoubtedly one of the country's greatest post-independence achievements. Music, language, sports, and food, an amalgamation of material culture form what we call Brand Jamaica. But our cultural and creative sectors are not just mere symbols of pride. This multifaceted industry is largely characterized by informality and often resistant to formalization policies. The Culture Minister, a practitioner in the creative industries, recently announced a suite of initiatives, including a pension scheme for members of the sector.
In building the new Jamaica, our government has deliberately chosen to focus on developing the infrastructure across the country among our key deliverables. In my ministry, this has meant developing new facilities, rehabilitating aging ones, and repurposing others.
Much noise about noise abatement. Well, the minister says she's trying to remedy that. The minister also announced the Fort Rocky development, now close to completion, will be used as another space for entertainment. Much infrastructural projects touted throughout her 2024-2025 sectoral presentation. But what do the cultural and creative industries stand to gain? Does the Culture Ministry need a remix with greater strength to focus on sustainable policy to ensure Jamaica enjoys sweeter fruits from the orange economy?
Thank you very much, Curlin Brown, for that presentation. Of course, my producer, Jonathan Atkins, central to the presentation of that nugget, the preparation, rather, of that nugget. So I turn now to Dr. Deborah Hickling-Gordon, the opposition spokesperson on culture. Dr. Gordon, good evening. Welcome to Lead Story.
Good evening to you.
Right. Would you say that culture and the creative industries are perhaps lost in the amalgamation of portfolios that are under Babsy Grange's thumb as minister?
I would say that the amalgamation as it exists needs some form of clarity. If there was some structure around that particular amalgamation, I can see where it works. I don't have a problem with the convergence of disciplines. I don't have a problem with the convergence of portfolios. What I do have a difficulty with is the absence of a strategic direction for the group and the individual elements.
Very well. So here's the thing then, Dr. Hickling-Gordon. In 2022, we have a graphic. The cultural and creative industries in Jamaica generated the equivalent of $2.2 billion in revenue. Are you saying that that was more by happenstance and perhaps luck than any concerted, structured plan that the government has in place?
I am saying that. I am saying that we have a hugely talented cultural and creative sector, and I think that they are at their absolute capacity. They require now a framework within which they can further thrive. I do believe that more can be done to create a coordinated effort to move the needle further.
Well, Dr. Hickling-Gordon, the thing is this, there's the old adage that I live by: men lie, women lie, numbers don't. And people point to the numbers I just mentioned and say, well, those are solid numbers facilitated by the environment or the framework that we have here in Jamaica. Are you saying that despite the number, our potential dictates that we could be doing much better than 2.2 billion US?
Let me give you some numbers then. About 2021 or 2022, JAMPRO did a study and they identified that 3 particular subsectors, film, animation, and music, made 6.02% contribution to GDP. And that was 3 subsectors. And they have measured 3 subsectors, and that's where those numbers come out of. But there are 20 subsectors of cultural and creative industries for which there is no coordinated effort. The emphasis is put on those three subsectors. So this other 17, if we were to have a full ecosystem plan for all of the converged cultural and creative industries, yes, I am saying those numbers could be better. I am saying by putting cultural and creative industries on the growth agenda seriously, we could move the needle forward. That's
all right,
exactly
let's continue in the vein of talking about numbers, because the expenditure budget for the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport for the 24-25 fiscal year, $5.856 billion. So you would think that with a headline like that, it means that the amalgamated portfolios are in for a bonanza in terms of what they'll get to produce the outcomes. Are you confident that at this level of proposed spending, what needs to happen across the various units in this super ministry, let's call it that, will happen?
I think we need some clarity as to what that money is going to be spent on. That budget is split into 2. It works for 2 programs, 1 program for entertainment and 1 program for cultural and creative industries development. Now, under 2 major program heads, cultural and creative industries development, that heading has about 8 agencies and 2 secretariats that it covers. The entertainment head has no agencies and no secretariats, and the programs and projects that it covers are very vague and unclear. I understand I don't know, that the insurance program is supposed to come out of that. I understand that some of the preparatory work for the entertainment zones are to come out of that. But we need to know, what is the plan? Is there a plan? And if there is, we need to be clear about what that is. I don't think it's unreasonable to ask the questions if the information is not provided. If the information is provided and it's reasonable, that's fine. But that budget split in two, that starves the cultural development arm, which I have a whole lot of questions about, but the entertainment arm, and we have no idea what that looks like, really, then I think, it's worth asking the questions.
Yeah. Well, here's the other thing I'll ask you. So we're talking about the sum allocated to the ministry, 5.586 billion for the fiscal year. Are you saying then, I mean, what you say you don't know, you're not aware of, you're unclear on, are you saying that sum appears to be too small for what you assess the needs to be, or is it that you're not confident that what is allocated will be spent equitably?
I am saying a little bit of both. What I'm saying is I don't know what in particular the entertainment element is going to be spent on, and it would be interesting to know. And in terms of the equity of it, well, I suppose we will have to see. It's unclear. It really is vague, and without a plan, without a program, without clear objectives, without an understanding of a direction, without a declaration of purpose, without the relevant statistics, without a clear growth trajectory, I think, again, it's worth asking those questions.
I'm being joined on set by Chairman of the Jamaica Record Industry Association, JARIA, the Attorney at Law, Ewan Simpson. So glad you could make it count. The traffic held you. That's
absolutely,
fine.
Absolutely.
You're a man of detail, Ewan Simpson, and I'm sure you would have looked at the minister's presentation. As JARIA boss, did you hear anything that rhymes with your vision for the entertainment sector?
I heard things which would rhyme with the vision for the entertainment center. The question is, have we heard sufficient that is new, sufficient that is institutional, to allow for us to feel comfortable that we're not just throwing a little bit more money at something which we probably need to throw a lot more structure at. And I understand the concern of my friend and colleague, Dr. Hickling Gordon. But the challenge is the stakeholders in the industry need to see a clearer picture as to how we will get to where we need to get to. At the end of the day, we have to set an example by treating the cultural and creative industries, and all of that is wrapped up in culture, entertainment,
and gender and sport,
and even sport. Yes. So culture, entertainment, and sport is our flagship element of the culture and creative industries, and we need to see a way through policy. Through how will this money, as insufficient as we think it might be supported by, for example, the Ministry of Finance or JAMPRO or the Jamaica Tourist Board in driving the support elements that we need. How do we get young musicians, young performers, young creative technicians to access the resources they need? How will education support this? Because if we're not moving towards a wholesale reordering of how we see these things as frivolity or just a little bit of celebration or what those people do, we're still going to have a problem. We're going to be throwing resources at something, throwing it down a chute that really gives us nowhere near the return it should.
Hear you on that. So we're talking about the Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport Ministry as run by Olivia Babs-Grange, consequent upon her presentation in the sectoral debate, and we're asking key stakeholders if they believe clarity of plan was delivered by the minister, and if the justification of spend was also present in the presentation to convince them that the future is indeed bright. We'll continue that conversation after these.
victory over Panama, South American giants Uruguay will look to reload for another assault against Bolivia. On Thursday, the heat of the Copa America continues on CVM+. 15-time Copa America champions Uruguay facing struggling Bolivia. Live Thursday at 8 p.m. on CVM+. Brought to you by
KFC, J-Ray and Nephew, Quartz, Sunshine Snacks.
When the food speeds, dance. When the vibe nice.
The time by Grace. Taste that moves you is
6:45.
It's the evolution. The Miss Universe Jamaica Beauty Fashion and Wellness Pageant 2024 is back again. Bigger, better, and even more exciting. Come out to the Grand Coronation Finals on Saturday, July 6, 2024 at the AC Hotel Kingston and see in live and living color special guest Miss Universe 2023 Shanice Palacios, Miss Universe Jamaica Dr. Jordan Levy, and a host of other luminaries as this year's amazing array of beautiful contestants battle to represent Jamaica in Mexico this year. Showtime is 8:30 p.m. Gates open at 6:30 p.m. Tickets available online at www.myplug.com. Visit us on Instagram at Official Miss Universe Jamaica for more information. This is the most exciting show on earth. Be there. Miss Universe Jamaica, beautifully confident and enhancing lives. The feedback from stakeholders is that not enough was said by the Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport in her contribution to the sectoral debate about how she intends to move the cultural and creative industries forward. They say there is a lack of planning and a lack of a coherent approach to the success that we believe should derive from the wealth, the richness of Jamaica's cultural and creative industries. And if you are in doubt about what Jamaicanness means, Jamaicanness, in my view, is tied to our excellence or expertise in the cultural and creative industries. That's what we're world renowned for. Look at all of our greatest individuals and look at the fields that they have excelled in. The Jamaican scientist who's world famous doesn't exist, but the Jamaican artist who's world famous exists. The Jamaican sprinter who's world famous does exist, and that's why we're having this discussion, because it's so very important. I'm speaking with Dr. Deborah Hickling-Gordon, opposition spokesperson on culture, and Ewan Simpson, the chairman of the Jamaica Reggae Industry Association. Dr. Hickling-Gordon, did you hear anything in the presentation that speaks to a plan or an approach to invite, to get new money to pump into the cultural and creative industries to make things better? Did you hear that, or was that lacking, was that absent?
Well, there are some specific projects. I mean, there was talk of the Jam World project and the partners that they're speaking to. So I assume that there is some public-private partnership happening. Again, we don't know, and we do know that the communities there have not been invited to participate in a development discussion. So that's the first thing. Jam Pro has the mandate of inviting new resources by way of investment, and so there are new activities that are happening there, I would imagine, every day. But in terms of, you see, one of the problems we've always had with the investment element of cultural and creative industries is packaging investment projects and creating projects that are viable and saleable and will invite the necessary resources. I'm not sure that we've had very much of that, and I would be interested to know. Yeah,
Council, I'm thinking of a chicken and egg scenario here because I'm thinking the coordination that is needed within the cultural and creative industries to yield the results that we know it can produce. Must that effort follow the outline of policy from a government perspective, or must it be driven by the industry players themselves and the coordination in the various industries? So the chicken and egg comes in to play is what comes first? Is policy influenced by that organization on the ground, or must the policy come first before that organization can take place on the ground?
Well, there's a different chicken and egg situation in my view.
Yes.
But I believe that government has a duty to lead. And we have had this gem in our hands since before Jamaica became an independent nation. We have seen what it has done for the rest of the world. So there is a set of persons that would be given the duty to sit and think about a way forward. When tourism didn't come about in the way it has been organized now by happenstance, there was legislative support that was put in place. There's policy support that was put in place because somebody thought it was important and somebody thought this was an opportunity we could not miss. There are many lessons that we can learn from tourism. Lessons of how things have worked and how they shouldn't work. And I'm saying, what is preventing us from applying that from a policy perspective where we set the tone and we have the conversation? Policy is not about prescription.
Yes.
It is about bringing all the relevant thoughts and ideas, the relevant talent together to craft something in the interest of Jamaica.
Yes. I know how my viewers are, Dr. Hickling Gordon. So they'll say, well, you're being critical of the minister and pointing to the shortcomings and the gaps. We have a lawyer and said, so we can say the lacunas in the presentation without coming up forward with a prescription about how to plug those gaps. So I'll put this one on their behalf to you. You are the minister. How would you propose, how would you go about harnessing greater value from the music we have, which has been expropriated to such great profit by those outside of Jamaica? How do you retain more of those earnings from reggae music? What's the approach you would take if you were sitting in the chair as a decision maker?
Well, I think, first of all, in terms of, I would look at it in a lot more broadly, because we're now working in what we call a cultural and creative ecosystem, where all of the elements and all of the sectors work together. So by creating a tide that lifts all ships, then you are in a better position to deal with the nuances of each sector. That put in that seat, I would automatically activate what we are now calling our 5G approach. Yes, we are seeking to move cultural and creative industries out of our analog thinking process for policy to a digital process, and it has 5 different elements. First of all, the deliberate process of nurturing greatness. So it's the development of talent. If we look at places like South Korea, we can see where deliberate programs are put in place throughout the school system, the integration of STEAM, to have students matriculate from one organization, one school into another with STEAM education, and of course facilitating that through our JCDC and social development process. Then the second one is global reach, looking at the issues of trade. You know, George, we have a situation in October of every year, where our artists and artisans move from place to place with their artwork in small kind of fairs, from one fair to the other. Yes. And that's the highlight of their annual sales period. Yes?
Yes.
That's their market. The market for small artisans is a table at a fair for 3 months. Not good enough.
Yes, yes.
There needs to be a set of processes that moves the global trade element forward. There are 3 more elements: putting cultural and creative industries on the growth agenda, bringing it into the center, recognizing that it is the comparative and strategic advantage of our nation, creating a governance governance structure. That's the 4th one, and the 5th one is using it to strengthen our identity and and deal with issues of sustainable development goals. We have a plan. We have objectives.
Hear you on that.
We are.
Jerry Boss, I have to put this one to you because many people say, look, cut the minister some slack. There are many small wins that she has recorded over the years. They'll say, but George, before now, there was no insurance scheme for reggae practitioners who've fallen on hard times.
True.
She has put that in place. Leonard P. Howell, Rastafari pioneer and the man who solidified the Rastafari movement, which has been so beneficial to the country's music. I can't imagine what Jamaica's music profile would be without Rastafari. Leonard Howell was the start of that. Monument to him. So many other things. So the minister has done well in the time that she has been serving, and if we wait, we will see more wins accrue. Are you comforted by that line of reasoning, sir?
That line of reasoning is not a line of reasoning that I would be hostile to. But what I want to say is this. If you, to whom much has been given, from him or her, we have to be gender comfortable.
Yes.
From him or her, much is expected. And now, we understand the pedigree of the minister. We understand the history and all that has been done over time, even before that. And we are saying, we believe that more can be done and that more could have been done over time. And I want to make it clear that from where I sit in Jaria, this is not an effort to say the minister is not doing.
Yes.
What we want to say is that this is
Coming
what
up with
more
a new
can be done.
Yes.
This is how we want to institutionalize the drive towards making Jamaica the cultural capital of the world. This is how we would want to see Jamaica become a festival capital. And when I say a festival capital, I'm saying somewhere where the ecosystem of the cultural and creative industries drives everyone positively.
I have 30 seconds left. I give you a bit of that, Dr. Hickling Gordon. The minister says, look, I want my opposition counterparts to speak to me directly about improving things, not speak to me through press releases. Can you oblige by doing as she has requested, Dr. Hickling Gordon?
I have worked with the Ministry of Culture, Gender, and Entertainment and Sport for many, many, many years on a number of projects. The minister knows that I have been available to her and I continue to be available to her. However, I do not, who I represent in this role are the people of Jamaica. And they want to hear as much as she does what the basis of my representation. So in the same way that I will come to her directly, and I can, but I will certainly make public the issues that I think are important to be ventilated.
Hearing that, they're going to kick me out of the studio. Thank you very much for your contribution this evening. Thank you, Ewan Simpson, for making it here. That's a discussion.